Hello folks, how's it going? So this is going to be a little bit more of a behind the scenes sort of thing that I'm going to do. Don't know how consistent I'm going to be with this. We'll see how things unfold. The plan and objective is to record these on a regular basis to show you guys what I'm doing in terms of building a movement community. I'll go into that in this video, what the hell that even means. But I'm kind of seeing it as just an opportunity to put something out there for those that are interested in this, obviously, interested in what I'm doing, for those who see my content and just want to figure out like what is this idea of a movement community, because it's going to be the big focus really for things going forward, kind of condensing, bringing together lots of different areas of my work in a way. The plan is, we've got into a bit of a routine with Bodhi, which is very, very good, that he is more consistent with his nap times. We'll see, fingers crossed, touch wood and all that, because I've said it now, it'll go a different way. But that is him sleeping, which is very, very good, because for the first year it had been so up and down, topsy-turvy, very hard to predict, which kind of meant things were a bit annoying in terms of scheduling and organizing. Like, I'm not necessarily I am organized in a way. I have to stay organized with things, I guess, but I know it's not my nature, shall we say, to be that way. And I guess part of that as well is like the organization can kind of get in the way with things. Like, there's certain responsibilities and tasks that I have to complete on a very regular basis, so those things obviously need to get done. So when things get pushed around, it can be a bit annoying. So any form of inconsistent in terms of his sleep and everything like that has been a hard struggle for the past year or so. Really, it's been like a massive adaptive process. Like, as I said, behind the scenes with this, so it is going to be a little bit more like what I'm up to on a regular basis, the things that I'm doing, as opposed to, I guess, other pieces of content which are, I suppose, a little bit more direct to the point about what exactly the topic of the post is, you know. I'll be uploading these to, I guess, YouTube and the podcast, so they'll be slightly longer. I don't know how long. Let's see how long this goes, you know what I mean? But if I can get consistent with it, I feel at least there's going to be a few things that I'll get benefit from. Like, I'll get benefit from and you'll get benefit from, of course, which is, for me anyway, I'm just hoping to get a little bit more comfortable with talking on camera, obviously communicating the message and seeing, I guess, what's resonating with people. Like, that for me is the big thing about it. You know, community is such a big part of the project. That is the project, you know. So to be able to attract the right people, to resonate in terms of a message, and see in terms of the values and things like that, that really that hit home with people, you know, that's what I really want to start to piece together from this. So yeah, as this unfolds, it's the stuff that I would love to hear. Like, if there's ever, you know, I always say this with posts and stuff like that, where it's like, you know, message me, reach out, all that sort of stuff. Like, let me know how things are being received. I would obviously appreciate that with these, of course, and all posts as they come out. Where was I going with that? His schedule, yeah, that is like the fact that it's been very consistent now. So the plan is to record these when he kind of goes down for his naps. If I could do one a day, that would be fantastic, but I'm not going to commit to that just yet. I'm just going to test and experiment. I kind of like that idea of playing and experimenting with certain things. I think whenever I take on new tasks, like, it's something maybe that as a piece of advice that you can take from this is, you know, you have habits that you go through, you have a plan, you have a schedule. You may not even realize that you have one. You know, it can be somewhat unconscious, and you can make it conscious. You know, you make it conscious by kind of understanding, planning, all that sort of stuff. Like, recently I'd set a goal setting system out to people as part of the school community. So that was to give an idea of like why goal setting, planning, keeping a system of your goals is so important, especially for those that are creative in some way, because I feel creativity is really honed by having a goal. That's what I've started to realize over the last little while. I've started looking at it from that lens, from more of a creative lens, and it's really been helpful for me. It's kind of it's helped me see things in a different way and kind of navigate through my weeks and obviously through my day in this different way, like really seeing ideas start to kind of pull them from the ether in a way, is the way I've been thinking about it. So with that as kind of the focus over the last little while, for myself anyway, with how I've been seeing things, it's been a tough thing to do, I guess, with how things have been managing with Bodhi, because I've been getting up, switched back to getting up very early. Like when I was personal training and when I was working on the gym floor, it was I got used to a very early schedule. It really suited me in the sense that I definitely feel like I'm a morning person. Like I want to go, and when the energy is there, go and kind of get after the day, that kind of way. I just feel like definitely my circadian rhythm is veered towards that. I feel just at night I'm it's much harder to kind of motivate myself. Like I still get stuff done, of course, but it just seems like certain things can be a mountain to climb. Like I always use the analogy of you get to if you get to the end of the day and like you look at the dishes as a mountain to climb, which they can be sometimes, still get them done, of course. But the idea being that how do you kind of perceive very basic rudimentary things? Like if you're like, I mean, if there's some dishes to do during the day, for me, I'm just like, you don't even think about it. You just go, yeah, cool, whatever. If you actually are forced to stop in front of the dishes late at night and you go, oh Jesus, like that's my indicator for me anyways to your circadian rhythm. So maybe take that as a piece of advice for yourself. But the idea being, I've been seeing this goal setting process as so valuable. It's what I've set for everyone in the community. It's a really, really big part of how I've been figuring things out over the last little while, and I'm glad now that like in the mornings it's just a case of it's far too early to go and record something like this, I guess. Just not feasible with the office space that we have and how the house is. So so the fact that there's kind of time set aside, potentially him getting a nap, do some of this and a little bit more consistent work, because having to piece work together whenever I could was very frustrating in a way. It just kind of meant that I had no flow to things. Yourself, like sometimes you can just, it takes a bit of time to get into a task, that kind of way. Like you sit down to do something, you're like, right, cool. It takes a while for kind of the cogs to turn, for the brain to really understand and grapple with something. You find yourself in a flow with it, and then I would find myself being pulled away from something, and I'm just like, blah. Like the fact that I'm now getting those more consistent periods, I'm really, really happy about it. So if I see this as something that I can add in, I'm going to add it in, and stay consistent with it. And what I was mentioning then in terms of, say, advice for yourselves is thinking about it in that way when you go to add something in, is like this to be an experiment. For me anyway, this is an experiment, just to sort of see, like, does it make sense? Does it fit in? Does it help with the overall objective of what I'm trying to work towards in my own life? And if it works, it works. Happy days. If I start to see some positive feedback from it, I'll take that feedback. It's the whole process of a system. You need to understand where the feedback points are. Like, if things are optimized towards the objective that you're working towards, like, for me right now, it's about building a community. It's about building a connection. It's about building engagement. I think previously I had been optimizing, maybe unconsciously I wasn't aware of it, that I was optimizing more for just general reach. I was just trying to reach as many people as possible, and really kind of like thinking that was the smartest way to go about it. So it kind of fed into my content as well, the way I was going with things. Like I know it's kind of separate things in a way, but they all meld together. Like the idea of where the community is going in terms of the people that work closest with me, I kind of consider them like my inner circle. And then we go out kind of in the further rungs of people that are maybe more engaged in terms of looking at my stuff on social media and seeing the things that I do, and maybe there's a little bit of interest there. There's the people on my email list and the people now in the school community that are just getting these kind of little, these deeper touch points in a way. I think it's a huge part of kind of seeing that as like the inner circle into the outer circle. And I guess I was thinking that, like, right, if I want to build a community, I need to get the message out there. I need to get as many people kind of, eyes on the page, eyes on my work, all that sort of stuff. But I guess what I wasn't really focusing on was the message, or the value, the kind of the things that resonate, and the type of person, I guess, that was coming in. Now, this kind of leads me on to the community that I'm building. So the way in which I operate in terms of my work is I've kind of split it into, like, thinking about it in two ways, like my in-person work. and my online work. So I'd been kind of back and forth with it over the years. Like, I mean, if you followed my page for a while, you'd know I had a in-person business for a while where I was running and operating a gym in Clonski, small group personal training, and very much like resistance focused group model. We had 4 people in at a time, you know, that kind of way. And the thing was, we kind of run regular classes, we were growing and expanding. COVID hit and kind of like obviously forced us into a different way of kind of going about things. We managed what we could through COVID. We kind of kept a sense of community and engagement in terms of keeping people active throughout that period. But you know, you were so on and off with coming back into the gym and then having to close again. It was obviously a very tough, challenging, frustrating time for everyone for multiple reasons. And I'm just giving you my perspective of how everything went. When we did open, though, I guess what I found was I could see in front of myself, I guess, the limit that was there as a result of the gym. You know, it's the gym comes with certain expectations, a certain label, a certain way of thinking about what is physical activity. You know, not just training. It suddenly became like people were coming in expecting, like, right, I'm here to resistance train, push myself, all that sort of stuff, and it's not necessarily the kind of things that I wanted to step away from that. I wanted to make sure that this was being seen in a different way, and I felt anyway that was what I was trying to do when I decided to close the gym and move on from there. That was really the big leap that I wanted to make. Was I wanted this to be a little bit different in the sense that it was more about a process of getting in tune with the body, you know, connecting to the body in a different way. I think that's where a lot of the work as of recent has been making a lot of sense, is the way in which you can use your body as a way of becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, and all of the things that kind of come with that. You know, it's not just necessarily in the movement practice itself, it's all the individual parts that kind of come around that, you know. And so that was the direction, that was the leap that I kind of had to make at that point. And so it kind of led me towards like a blend of online stuff. You know, I was living in Vienna for a while, so it was mainly online. I wasn't doing any in-person stuff. And then I've come back now, and so I've had that blend of online and in-person. I guess it almost felt as if I was kind of like managing 2 things, you know, that sort of way. And that was the hard part of it, was kind of like putting out things and kind of think. And suddenly I was thinking about it in 2 different ways, and then suddenly I was just like, oh yeah, like it doesn't have to be as complicated as I'm making it. You know, simplifying it. If I really want to see the getting the message out there as like a simple process and really focusing on the community, like that's the way in which I want that to go. Is I want to make the delivery of the message, you know, as streamlined as possible, and make things really clear and clarify what that is. And that's a process that I'm going to get better at in time. It's what I'm hoping to get through with these videos. You know, a more authentic, raw version of communicating and speaking to people. These long form pieces are the way that I want to go about it, because the shorter form stuff, it's valuable. You know, I'm not saying that it's not. It's a great way to kind of to see that reach. But then these are the opportunities for people who have maybe seen my stuff for a while to come in and say, oh, what is Ronan like? What is the community like? What are all these different things that are that he's talking about that are making sense for me? Like, why are they making sense? So that idea of like the split between online and in person, I want to meld them together, and I want to think like, right, what ways can I kind of create very similar things in terms of resources that really blend together for both kind of both ways of the school being seen as connected, you know. And it's this is where the whole idea of it's called the Connected Movement School. That's the idea of the community, and we've got a page now, a free community page on a platform called School, which has got like courses, modules to come in, and that's where all the resources are going to be held. So if I think about it from the inner circle out, that's the better way for me to kind of explain it. So it's online and in person, and there's the inner circle. So the inner circle are obviously all the people that are working with me directly, you know, and from there I have the things that I assign. Say, for example, my closest people would be like my one-to-one students. And as I said, both online and in person, those people will be in direct contact with me on a regular basis through through like WhatsApp. I've everything kind of set up on a platform called Notion, where I have all of the material in terms of, say, like the week to week thing that I want them to do in terms of their practice. And it is really it's the physical aspect and it's the mind aspect of things. It's understanding the connection between them. I'm sure I'll go in future videos and loads of details about that. But really what I wanted to make sure was there was a platform for people to not only like, there's the direct work that I can assign them in terms of their practice, but then there's the resources and protocols and things that they can learn to play with and learn to piece together their own practice. You know what, I think that's the working with students and seeing what really works well is, you know, understanding this is a long-term project, a long-term focus on themselves. They're coming to me for help and for guidance, but I don't necessarily see it as like, you need to work with me for a certain period of time, and you know, you don't always have to work with me, of course, but you have to come in and take what you want from the teachings to see how it helps you in terms of your long-term approach to movement and to your relationship with yourself. So with that in mind, the school community, I'm making sure that the resources that are available in terms of, say, like the inner stuff is somewhat private, of course, but I want to make as much of it freely available as possible. You know, there's only so much I can do in terms of, say, like say for example with the one-to-one stuff, I can directly assign you something, or I can directly kind of write something up, for example. But that being said, some of the issues and problems and things that the obstacles that people run into are somewhat universal. So with that in mind, I wanted to make sure that I had kind of the protocols, courses, and resources available. So that's where we're going to with a lot of the how-to stuff, is making that stuff available within the school community. So the way in which I've been sort of positioning it is the Connected Movement School on the platform is it's available to everyone, you know, in the sense that I'm going to be putting lots of resources there. Like at the moment we have the goal setting system. That's kind of like a little mini course, full dashboard and everything like that. We've got the 4 weeks free coaching. That's an opportunity to kind of to come in to test run this stuff for yourself in terms of your own practice. There's lots and lots of stuff there in terms of like a meditation routine. There's like a daily movement routine. There's an actual physical, like what would be considered like full practice sessions built up, bringing the body through kind of these more this focus of connected movements. And as I said, I'll go into that in lots of detail as to what those elements are. But those are some of the resources that are available now within the actual community space, and we'll be expanding on that over time, giving you lots of tools and things to play around with for yourself. So even coming into it in terms of it being a free community, I understand that for a lot of people, like the thing I point to with free communities is like you've got to come in, I guess, with a focus on actually taking part, you know, because it's a lot of the same material that I give my private students, and they have lots of success, and there's a big transformation of self within that. There's a physical and mental transformation, you know, and the difference, I guess, is the intent. You know, they're working with me privately, so there's a level of accountability and expectation that's coming on them, so that like when I'm checking in with them and saying like, have you done the work, they have to answer that kind of clearly. Did I do the work that was assigned for the week? Did I execute on it? You know, it's all obviously personalized to the point that I'm accounting for what that person has in terms of the week and what they're capable of actually doing, and there's a bit of a roadmap set out as to what we want to achieve in that period of time, and it's all down to like what they want to work on in terms of their goals. So that idea of the weekly touch point is like, cool, did you execute on the things that you said you would execute on, that are in line with your goals, that will bring you to a more developed place physically and mentally? When you don't necessarily have that, like I could give the exact same material to you, but if I don't check in with you and there's no level of accountability, it's kind of like you could fob it off, you know, that kind of way. And I guess we have to come to that realization ourselves, is like when you execute on things practically, you will have those moments of feedback, those touch points for yourself. You'll have that thing of, is this actually working? Is this process taking shape? You know, are we going towards the direction that we want to go towards? And that's the idea of me as a guide, as a teacher, is I'm just there to guide the way, to point like, are we Are we aligning with what we want to work towards? Are we doing the things that we're setting out to do? Simple things like that. But just having that moment of being able to do that is like, it's a conversation with yourself almost. You're starting to map things a little bit more. You're starting to understand yourself more. So I want to make that available to those that are obviously interested, in the sense that you can start to piece that together yourself. You know, I can't build everything for you, of course, but I can still make a few bits available in terms of like what I've done with the goal setting system. It's a pivotal part of the process in terms of making a weekly sort of touch point for yourself with a few questions, all that sort of stuff. So I'd really, really advise you go in there and get that if it's something that you want to explore over the next little while. Like, the way I would point to it is like, if you're someone who is always like getting these great ideas, like getting these great moments of like, oh, I really want to work on this project, this thing that I really want to work towards. But if you're never really making out, like maybe you're making the plan, but you're never really executing on the plan. You know, you spend all this time in sort of planning stages, but you never execute. You know, like what I was saying earlier, it's the execution is where we want to get the feedback into the system. And when we set up those kind of touch points for feedback, it means, oh, right, this worked really well, this other thing didn't work so well, so how do I get around this obstacle that I wasn't really aware of? You address that obstacle, you recoup back into what you were doing, you iterate on the process, and then suddenly you find yourself actually going through things, gaining momentum, all that sort of stuff. And there's tons of different stuff as to like what you could come up against. That's why I point to it in terms of the goal setting mini course. Like, I have it there as a separate thing, and I go through kind of each step by step. But if you're finding yourself in those kind of stages where you're never really executing on any of the plans that you make, and you're not seeing the value in a goal setting process, and actually going, if you've also never seen the kind of the creative aspect of goal setting, like in that you start to actually see reality slightly differently, in the sense that you start to pinpoint in on whatever it is that you're working towards. Things start to the surroundings start to take shape in a certain way because of the goal that you've set. If you've never really felt that, it's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful process to embed yourself in. I'd really, really encourage you to come in and get going with that. And that's why I wanted that to be kind of like a foundational part of the group from the very beginning. You know, as we add the resources to it in terms of, say, the movement blocks, like we've got the simple movement routine section. So that's just going to be filled with very, very general things that you can come in and get a taste of maybe some of the more deeper aspects of the material that I teach with my students, in terms of, say, like the in-person school that I run at the moment. So as I said, it's that community space is kind of like, it's the material, it's everything that we have in terms of the resources that I want to make available to my students, and I'm making it available for both, obviously, for free to anyone that wants to come in and actually explore that stuff themselves with no like obligation, no commitment to actually work with me directly. Like, I'm there to message and to answer questions and stuff like that. There's a tons of stuff available to you if you want to come in and see what it's like for yourself. But then it's also there for my actual students themselves to because it was kind of the way in which I was organizing everything, I guess, previously, was because it was so one-to-one, it just meant like things were very directly given, whereas this, I want it to be a little bit more like, cool, the onus is on you to a degree to sit with whatever amount of the material you want to, and obviously I'm giving direction, I'm pointing to certain things for those who are working with me directly, but at least, yeah, this is the very kind of like reserved, like, here's the material. The potential work that you could do is like, you can dive into these various topics and explore yourself. But yeah, that's the way in which I wanted to build the community from now. And I'm sure, as I said, myself, I'm going to go through the process of iteration and kind of refinement. So if there are things that I need to pull from it, I'll pull from it. If there are things that I need to add to it, I'll add to it over the next little while. So yeah, I feel like I've given a bit of an overview there. Obviously, I'll remind of kind of like what the community is, but this is going to be the format of everything over the next little while in terms of these videos. I want to deep dive. I want to explain and kind of my things that I'm coming up against on a weekly basis. You know, because this process of goal setting is fascinating to me, in the sense that we need those feedback points, and these are going to be almost like a review process for me. You know, I have it with my students in that I get them to review, but just even being able to say, cool, what are the things that I need to communicate that are happening with me today in terms of the roadmap that I have, the obstacles that I'm meeting, and hopefully you'll start to see those realizations that I'm coming to, that I'm making along the way, that I expect out of my students. You know, they come to these realizations by me kind of like pointing to various things and saying like, look at how this is developed in you know, through the consistency that you've gone through. You know, we have to really highlight that and bring that to the surface, why it's so important to recognize those wins, even though we naturally kind of focus on maybe some of the more negative things. We point to those things that like aren't really going in our favor. But really, yeah, there's the basic principles that we kind of have to point to with any target, with any objective, and make sure that we're executing on those. So that's going to be, this is going to be a way for me to keep to those principles, and then you're going to get those principles communicated to you. It's a very interesting way of thinking about it, isn't it? I'm going to try my best to communicate what I'm going through, and if that is something that resonates you, that you get any value from, then happy days. We're both getting value from this, which is excellent. So I'm going to leave it at that, folks. We're going to continue on this in the best way possible. We're going to take it day by day, and we're just going to see what happens. So appreciate you listening in. As I said, more of a behind the scenes feel of things, but yeah, feedback is amazing. If you can let me know how these are going, what you're thinking about them, especially as we get into a kind of a few of them. Hopefully I have more obviously coming, considering this is the first one. But yeah, appreciate your time. I'll see you soon.